New grant funding will help improve infrastructure throughout the Commonwealth. It's also going to help connect people, we'll explain. Plus, how a new bill making its way through the state capitol could impact the future of research funding at schools across the state.
Plus, we are warm today, but a brief battle with winter is ahead. Those details coming up as Mountain News First at 4 continues.
Mountain News First at 4 continues.
The United States Department of Agriculture is funding projects throughout Kentucky, recently announcing more than $45 million in funding to be allocated to 14 infrastructure investments. WYMT's Buddy Forbes has more from one organization with plans to use its cash to connect the Commonwealth.
With more than $370,000 in new grant funding, Shaping Our Appalachian Region is working to better connect communities. The USDA announced a list of grants focused on improving infrastructure. One of the 14 projects included $371,985 to SOAR from the Broadband Technical Assistance Grant, which will be used to promote and connect partners in 14 communities in the state's largest county. Executive Director Colby Hall says the funding will help SOAR lay a foundation on which its partners can expand and build better broadband.
There's a lot of barriers to broadband deployment in eastern Kentucky, but it's so key to everything that we're doing. And so we took a very micro approach with this application, focusing on Pike County.
Hall says though this funding will be concentrated on connecting Pike County, it also helps to lay the foundation for the rest of the region. In Pike County, Buddy Forbes, WYMT Mountain News.
The communities most in need and disconnected will be the focus of the funds. Hear more about that coming up at 6. One of the high-profile priority bills in the Kentucky Senate this year deals with university research funding. Senate Bill 1 deals with the process for universities to work together to fund and engage in major research projects. The bill easily passed a committee today. WYMT's Phil Pendleton has more on what's in that legislation.
Senate President Robert Stiver says oftentimes universities are known on how they compete with one another, whether it's athletics or trying to get research money. But he says in this case, universities across the state would actually work together on various projects that could possibly lead to life-changing innovations.
But it would set up 5 different research components that would be cutting-edge research.
One of those would be into spinal cord and head injuries. The Council on Post-Secondary Education would administer the groups in their research pathways. Stiver says already some Kentucky universities are engaged in unique programs, but in working together, they could achieve a whole lot more.
Maybe there's another collaborative between Northern and UK with Alzheimer's research. One of the #1 leading areas where people are looking to put research dollars in.
Senate Bill 1 would require the first group to be funded would be the Kentucky Spinal Cord and Head Injury Research Trust. In Frankfort, Phil Pendleton, now back to you.
Stiver says appropriations or seed money would jumpstart the program. Then money generated from it would fund future research.
We are tracking some wet and windy weather on your Thursday and more showers on the way as we go into this evening as well. Let's take a live look at first alert pinpoint Doppler and some heavier showers beginning to push into our northwestern counties like Estill, Powell, Menifee, also Rowan counties, zooming into places in Stanton, also Frenchburg, pushing into Moorhead as well. Some heavier downpours at this hour. Here is a live look from the Mountain Parkway at Slade. That current temperature up to 59 degrees. Dry at this location for now, but again, those heavier showers are not too far away. More mild weather also continues on this Thursday, up to 60 for Jackson, 61 for Hazard and Somerset, 63 for London and Manchester at this hour. If you are not getting the rain right now, more rain is on the way as we go into this evening, also tonight, and some more widespread showers are likely, and some of those could be a little bit heavy as well. Also tracking some more gusty winds. We could see winds up to 20, possibly 30 miles per hour at times. Once again, we are cooler to wake up on Friday. Low temperatures in the middle 40s, more 50s on the way for your Friday, but we struggle to make it out of the 30s to kick off this weekend as some much cooler air is on the way. But again, that is short-lived as we see some more spring-like weather to close out February. All those details coming up in just a few minutes. Steve?
All right, Cameron, thanks. Following the deadly shooting on Alec Baldwin's Rust set, the trial for the weapons specialist began today. Hannah Gutierrez-Reed is charged with involuntary manslaughter and tampering with evidence relating to the 2021 fatal shooting of the film's cinematographer. She has pleaded not guilty. If convicted, she faces up to 3 years in prison. Today, the judge read through some of the charges.
The above-named defendant did cause the death of Helena Hutchins, committed in the commission of a lawful act which might produce death in an unlawful manner or without due caution or circumspection.
Actor Alec Baldwin is also charged with involuntary manslaughter. His trial is set for later this year. A Texas judge rules in favor of a school district in the case of a high school student suspended over his hair length. 17-year-old Daryl George has been growing his hair in locks for years, but his school district determined the natural style violated its dress code. He's been on in-school suspension for 7 months. George's family filed a civil rights lawsuit against the governor, attorney general, and the school district for violating the Crown Act, which protects against race-based hair discrimination.
It means a lot to me. It's my roots, you know. It's how I feel closer to my people, how I feel closer to my ancestors, you know. I started my dreads for a reason, and that's just to feel close to my people.
The judge ruled the Crown Act does not prevent schools from limiting the length of a student's hair. George and his attorneys plan to appeal. Meanwhile, the teen will continue with in-school suspension. Union membership is at an all-time low, but major strikes last year set a 20-year record. According to the Labor Department, 2023 saw 33 major strikes involving more than 450,000 workers. Those strikes included Hollywood screenwriters and actors and workers at all 3 Detroit automakers. A strong labor market empowered workers to demand and win massive pay increases after years of stagnant wages. A record-breaking mission to space earns Army accolades for an American astronaut. Colonel Frank Rubio was presented with the Army astronaut device during a pinning ceremony at the Pentagon today. Rubio holds the U.S. record for the most days in space for a single space flight. He spent 371 days aboard the International Space Station. He shared some of his favorite memories from his year away from home.
Launch, you know, just getting on a rocket and being on top of 300 tons of rocket fuel is a pretty incredible feeling. The spacewalks and the fact that you're out in space in a very small, personal-sized space vehicle is pretty incredible. And then re-entry, where you essentially become a meteorite.
Rubio says he plans to continue his contributions to NASA's mission with the hope of traveling to space again. Coming up on First at 4, have you ever wondered which profession has the most ethical and honest people? We'll have the results of a new poll and why experts think support for number 1 is slipping.
Plus, we are tracking some wet weather this evening, then some cooler weather to kick off your weekend. Those details after this break.